The spy turned a contrived look of boredom on the captain. "Has Narun formally allied with Cirrus?" Alden asked. Surprise ruptured the captive's emotions, and it briefly colored his expression, too. Finally, they'd cracked the spy's smooth facade. His surprise quickly faded, however, and he regained his air of indifference. "How should I know?" Alden raised her voice. "Is Narun planning an attack on Cora with Cirrus?" Another stunted shrug. "I know nothing more than what I've told you." His emotions grew tighter inside Cora, contracting again. But even without her powers, it was obvious he was lying. This man was clever, well-spoken, and knew too much. Captain Alden cast a questioning glance at her queen. Cora gave her a subtle nod, and Alden tipped her head toward the jailer. "He's all yours." The jailer pushed off the wall with a cruel grin, cracking his knuckles as he sauntered toward his captive. Cora turned on her heel and exited the cell. As the door closed behind her, the prisoner's fear lanced her gut, but she breathed it away, banishing the no longer needed emotions. She strode down the dimly lit dungeon hall, her steps swift, focusing only on the elements around her. The stale air, the stone beneath her feet, the flickering light from the sparse lamps, the moisture dripping down the walls. Air, earth, fire, water, the substances that fueled her magic, protected her, guided her. She drew them closer now, imagining them wrapping around her like a cocoon until she could feel her mental shield snapping into place. The prisoner's fear no longer prodded her, and she was left with only her own emotions. She reached the end of the dungeon hall when she heard the first strike of flesh against flesh, a grunt of pain. She shuddered, knowing a man was getting beaten on her order, but she could only summon the slightest pity. The spy knew too much and was harboring important information. Information she needed. She wouldn't let herself regret what had to be done. Cora was a queen to her people, a witch at her core, and if it meant protecting her kingdom, she could be a villain to her enemies, too.